Good morning, beautiful people. Welcome to yet another episode of the Younib Breakfast Show with me, Peninah Wachera. How have you woken up? I hope you guys have woken up well and are excited to start your day. For me, I am really excited for this day and kwanza for the conversation we're going to have. But before I introduce to you the conversation of the day, let's go straight to the morning bite of the day. Yes, today we're going to speak about demystifying therapy. I know some of you are afraid of going to therapy, and today we are going to tell you what therapy entails. I remember when we were doing the question and answer, one of you guys asked that, what can I do? I'm afraid of therapy. What can I do aside from therapy? And today we're just here to inform you about the stigmas on therapy, to also teach you guys about therapy, to even tell you guys when should you seek therapy, or how frequent should you go for therapy? So those are the things we'll be answering today in today's conversation, right? So as you can see, guys, today I am joined by my resident psychologist. These are faces that you're already used to. So I'm going to introduce them for you guys so that you may be able to know them, so that you can continue with the conversation of the day. So I'll start with my right. We have Valentine, Ndiwa. And on my left, you have Beula and Njagi. And I'm so excited for this conversation. And yeah, let's learn, right? So tell us, to start us off, what is therapy?
Thank you so much, Peninah, for that question. So therapy is basically when an individual seeks professional help. And in this case, you don't necessarily have to be experiencing a mental health condition for you to go for therapy. And I believe that is somehow, it is part of the misconceptions that are out here. So you might be struggling maybe to come up with a correct or an informed decision, and that is when you seek for therapy as an individual. So it's that process of you seeking for professional help. And most people confuse it with you going out there and seeking advice from your friends. So advice and therapy are two different things. Your friend doesn't have to be very much conversant on a particular topic in order for them to give you an advice. For example, if, let me use this example, I'm married and I'm having issues with my partner. Of course, yeah, I might go and seek help from my pastor or priest or even my friends or my parents. But now, professional help will come from somebody who has an experience and even knowledge in handling marriage-related issues. So in most cases, you find that we go seeking for help from our friends who are not very much knowledgeable in that particular area. Yeah.
When you were speaking, I was wondering, in my head, I'm like, counseling and therapy, are they one and the same thing?
Yeah, they are similar. It's basically one and the same thing. Go for therapies, you go for counseling. Yeah.
So it's the same.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so Beula, how does therapy work?
Right. So, as Valentine has mentioned, this is, whereby, the person in need of help has gone for a professional. So how it works is there's the two parties involved, where we have the client, and the client could mean an entire family, the client could mean a couple, the client could mean an individual, and the therapist, who is the professional or the psychologist or the counselor. So what these two parties are doing is building a therapeutic relationship, which is now a space whereby the client feels safe enough to come with where they're at, to come with, whatever problems they're facing or where they feel stuck, to a space that is non-judgmental, to a space that holds them accountable to the goal that they've come in with. So the client comes in and during the first session, it's just getting to know each other. The therapist gets to know the client a bit more. The client can ask the therapist questions about themselves just to build that rapport, to build that relationship. And then the therapist will ask the client, what is it that brought you in today, or what is it that you want to see at the end of this process. So we set goals at that point, because that is what will be the guiding, what guides the entire therapeutic process, because the goal of it is to help the client move to where they want to be, not where the therapist thinks the client should be. So that's a very important thing, to be able to set those goals. And then with that, now it's now doing the work of therapy, which involves, the therapist showing up for the therapy sessions and the client showing up for the therapy sessions, as well as doing the work outside therapy, because therapy goes on for about 45 minutes to an hour, which is not enough to do change unless outside of that 1 hour, the client is actually doing the work, continuing with that process. Yeah, so that is a brief snippet of what therapy looks like. Yeah.
You mentioned that you guys get goals. What if you get a client who doesn't know what they really want at the end of the therapy? What happens then?
That has happened. But you see, sometimes, a lot of the times, clients come knowing what they don't want, but they don't know what they do want. So we explore that a little bit. And, the more you explore into it, the more you dig into it, the more I find out why don't you want, whether it's that relationship with your significant other or relationship with your mother. What is it that you don't like there? What is it that is distressing you in that state? And how can we now phrase it into something that you do want? So we start from what you know. And oftentimes what you know is Kenya utaki kuona. And that's fine. We start from there. And with that, we explore a little bit until we're able to articulate what it is that you do want. And sometimes that doesn't happen just in that one sitting, because the more we do therapy, the more we're talking, the more you're growing in awareness of yourself, in awareness of, the behaviors you've allowed in yourself or around you that are either serving you or they're not. And so that kind of gives clarity through the process. Yeah.
Now I know we have gotten to understand what therapy is and what it really entails. When we speak about therapy, many people don't really want to go for therapy simply because maybe they don't know what really it entails. And now I'm hoping that now you are more prudent, or you know definitely what therapy is all about. So I want us to take this short break, and we'll be back with more concerning therapy and demystifying it. Welcome back. This is still the Younib Breakfast Show with me, Peninah, Wachera, and my lovely therapist here. And today we are speaking about demystifying therapy. And remember, you can always interact with us through our social media platform, Younib_TV on Instagram, Younib Media TV on Facebook, and there's a number on your screen. You can SMS or WhatsApp 0719 144 144. Also, if you need help from our psychologist here, you can always call the number 0700 352 250 and they will be able to help you out. Remember, this show is proudly brought to you by Younib organization as well as Miss Yo Ashen. We are here to ensure that you get to know everything about mental health, to also get help if you have any problems. And that is why I gave the number, and I'll repeat it. 0700 352 250 is the number you will call when you want any psychological help from our psychologist here, right? So before the break, you guys told us about what therapy is all about and what we will come and find when we come for therapy. So I want us to go now to the different types of therapy.
You can incorporate different approaches, that is the behavioral, the cognitive, or a combination of the cognitive behavioral therapy. This is the therapy or the approach that I like using, because majority of the people usually have if they give the challenges or the issues that they are facing, you might find that it all starts from their thinking and even their perception. And that's why for me I prefer using the cognitive behavioral approach, because once I have dealt with your thought process, it means once your thought is okay, your emotions will be okay, and then at the end of the day you'll find that you will behave properly as an individual. And even when you mention about the types, there are different even modalities that are usually there when it comes to therapy. So in therapy, you can come in as an individual, you can come in as a group, you can come in as a family. Yeah.
Wow. So now we've gotten to understand the types of therapy that are there. So if I come for therapy, what are the things that I will come and get, or the benefits, or rather the benefits that I will get when I come for therapy?
I think I'd say the very first thing is you're coming to a safe space, a space where you will not be judged. You know, sometimes you can tell your friend something and then you just look at the expression on their face, and you're like, by the way, what atuni kind of shida yangu, because you know they're either shocked or overwhelmed or by what you brought in. So the first thing is that you can have a space where you can come and share your thoughts, and in fact even the more silly you feel like they are, the more we encourage you to bring them out, because they give a reflection of, you know, what else might be going on. So that's the very first thing I would say, just that safe space. Secondly, an opportunity to really grow in awareness of who you are and why you are the way you are. So I think sometimes it's just very important to understand what's the why behind some of the things that you think about, or why you think about things in a certain way. Like what I find very common is, it's very common for people my age and a bit younger to say, me, I don't trust anyone. So, you know, it's a good space to come and explore what's been going on. What is this thing about trusting people? Why is that a hard thing to do? So it just provides that space where you can get to discover yourself and know yourself. And number 3, it's a space that empowers you to make changes that you feel like you need to make. So again, it could be in matters relational, where you might need to learn how to set boundaries with yourself and with other people. You might need to learn new habits or new coping mechanisms. Those coping mechanisms we talk about in every session. So it could be a nice place to come and learn healthier coping mechanisms, as opposed to what you've known. Like, say, for example, what's very common is avoidance. So how can you sit with conflict in a healthy way? So it's a nice place to come and learn those healthy habits. And I'd say connected with that is, it's a place that also mirrors a healthy relationship, because the client and therapist relationship is a relationship. So if the therapist confronts you in a manner that you still feel like you're safe, you still feel like you're respected, it's something that you can learn, such that now when you're going to confront, say, your mother, your boyfriend, your husband, whoever you're in relationship with that was a struggle before, now you've learned the skills of how to do that in a manner that honors them, that respects them, because you've seen it being done to you by your therapist. Yeah.
Wow, now we know it's a safe space. It's a place where you can go and not be judged. That's the meaning of the safe space, or rather. So it's good for you to seek therapy because it's to help you. It's to make you feel comfortable, for you to share and open up your problems, right? So somebody told me that finding a therapist is like finding a good doctor for yourself, like somebody who you, or a friend that you really, really love. So what are the things that somebody should consider when finding a therapist?
Okay, I would say look for somebody whom will address the issues that you want to be addressed. In this case, I will use the different types or approaches, or rather modalities, which I've given out. If you are looking for, even in therapy, like there are different type of therapists that exist there. We have the family therapist, we have the marriage and family, they go hand in hand. We have somebody who is specialized in dealing with adolescents. We have the person who is specialized in dealing with child. And then there is also another person who is specialized in dealing with career matters. So they are different. It depends with what you are looking out for. If you are seeking for a career advice, whom do you go to? You go to maybe a career counselor. You can go to a counseling psychologist or a counselor who is specialized in dealing with marital problems, going out and airing your career issues. So you might be out there struggling, especially for the youth. You don't know what your personality is. You don't know what you're good at. There are career counselors who are out here ready to give you that help. And then when it comes to marriages, a lot of us go to marriage without even that proper preparation. We just sometimes we find ourselves into marriages, but we are not very much prepared to handle the marital issues that usually arise. So I would encourage maybe our viewer out there, before you enter into this marriage setup, know that there is a marriage counselor who is very knowledgeable in this area of marriage, and they'll be able to teach and even help you understand some of the things that you need to look out for before you settle down, and even when you are within that duration whereby you are married. So it depends with what you are looking out for. And then knowledge is very key. Even the age, the sex. Maybe you might be preferring, if you are a lady, maybe you prefer to have a male therapist or a female therapist. And then also, if you are this person who is elderly, maybe you prefer somebody who has done their master's or their PhD. So those are some of the things that you usually look out for in a therapy. But above all, I would encourage our viewer out there, look for somebody whom you feel safe, somebody who is very empathetic to you, and somebody who provides this conducive environment whereby you feel loved and you want to share out your issues, like you're very comfortable. So for me, I would go for somebody whom I'm very comfortable, irrespective of maybe their age, their gender, or their religion. So much of it depends with what you're looking for as an individual. Yeah.
So most probably it's for you to do the research and also to just have a therapist who is safe for you, who you feel comfortable and confident on, right?
Yeah.
So those are the things that we should consider when searching for a therapist. Some people say, when I go to a therapist, I went to this therapist, I didn't feel that this therapist was good for me, so they had to search for another therapist until they found the one they are really comfortable with. So it's okay to always shift your therapist. It's okay for you to always search until you get the place where you're comfortable and you feel free, right? So we have heard of men not trying therapy. They don't want therapy simply because they say that men should be strong out there and everything. These are part of the stigmas, I think, about therapy. So what are the stigmas that we see when it comes to therapy?
Yeah, I think what you've started with, that therapy is very feminine.
Yeah.
It's for women. Let them go talk, us will man up and face our issues, which is simply not true because, like as we've said, it's a process where you're just having a space where it's almost like having a sounding board as well. And it's something that I'd encourage everyone to at least have a session or two, even if you feel like you don't know what you're doing it for, but just for that self-awareness, for that learning the healthy skills that you can use, even in future when you're not in therapy, to deal with issues. I think another thing that goes around is one thing I think Val and I would both agree on this is when you tell someone you're a therapist, the first question is so you can read my mind. Yeah. So again, therapy is not a space where you go and your mind is read. You just keep quiet and your mind is read. No. It's a very collaborative process whereby we said it's for the client, right? So we need the client to work in as much as we're also working, because I might have the knowledge in, the things of psychology, but the client has all the knowledge about themselves. So we need them in as much as they need us to have this process be successful. And it's not just, Val started by saying this, it's not just for crazy people. It's not just for people with serious mental health conditions. It's literally for if you're breathing and thinking and you have emotions, then you're a very good candidate for therapy. Yeah, perhaps Valentine could add some more.
I would say a misconception which I've heard people say it's that it's for the weak. I don't know who came up with that, and people are like, I don't want to go to a therapist and how do you even just go and tell somebody your problems? I remember it was a man who was telling me that I don't think I can go to a therapist or share my own issues with a therapist because I don't believe that therapy would work for me. And this is because I tend to believe that person didn't have the proper information as to what therapy is, because there is also another man who shared that a friend's marriage was saved as a result of therapy, and this friend was not very much pleasant with the idea of doing the therapy, but after he went, it was like, so this is how things are. And this is how therapy saved my marriage. So I think it's something that I would recommend every male out there to go out and seek. So it's a misconception to think that therapy is for the people who are weak. And this I will link it to the fact that I've said that you don't have to be mentally or you don't have to have a mental health condition for you to seek out therapy. Maybe you are struggling in an area. It could be you are struggling to make friendship, or there are so many people around you who want to be a friend, and you are not able to make that proper decision as to whom should I choose to be my friend. So something as simple as that would require you to seek for professional help. So therapy is not for the people who are weak. Yeah.
So we've heard that actually for me I would say that therapy is for the strong, because it takes courage for you to go and just speak out your problems and just go and face those fears that you have been hiding them inside. So you're not a weak person, you're a stronger person. So don't feel offended even though you're a man who is ready to go for therapy, even though you're a lady out there who is being judged for going for therapy. You are strong. You're stronger than the person who is afraid of going to talk about their problems. You are more stronger. So let's be strong people. Let's go for therapy, and let's try and face our fears so that we can become better people. So as we think about whether or not we will go, or should we go for therapy, or why should I go for therapy, I want us to take this short break and we'll be back with more. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is still the Younib Breakfast Show with me, Peninah Wachera, and my lovely therapist here. And we're speaking about demystifying therapy. Remember, if you need to try therapy, you can always call the number 0700-352-250, and our therapist will be there to help you and work with you when it comes to your journey in therapy. Remember, you can always interact with us through our social media platform, Younib_TV on Instagram, Younib Media TV on Facebook, and there's a number on your screen. You can SMS or WhatsApp 0719-144-144. Let's keep interacting. Also, you can tell us why do you think you need therapy, or who should go for therapy, so that we can continue also interacting and also conversing. So coming back to our conversation, we know that there are codes and ethics that really govern the relationship between a therapist and a client. So please let us know or enlighten us on more about that.
Okay, so when it comes to doing therapy or other counseling, there are certain things that we need to look out for. So some of these things I believe we have mentioned as we've been discussing about therapy. So empathy, you as the counselor, you need to be somebody who is empathetic but not sympathetic. Empathetic means that you are in a position to put yourself in the shoes of your client without being sympathetic. So sympathetic, I will use an example. If a client comes to you and say maybe they don't have food, so if you're this person who is very sympathetic, you might go to that extent of maybe giving them money or buying for them food, of which these are the things that we don't usually encourage in the therapy. So as you are being empathetic, maybe you can ask your client, what are some of the things that you can do maybe to get the food, or who is the next person who can help you get that food. That is if the client is saying that they don't have food. Then the other thing, then there needs to be respect in the counseling relationship or in the therapeutic relationship. Remember, counseling is not something that you just do one day and then memalizana, then it is evil. It has stages. Na kuna venye some of them Beula amesema. So the first stage you have to build that rapport. So rapport building ni ndio mweze kubuild the trust. Remember, uwezi enda kwa mtu the first day na unamtrust. And that's why this person has to keep on coming. Maybe okay, the minimum sessions, it depends with the issues, but sile one day umekuja, oh, my issues are over, then I go. It is a therapeutic, it's a relationship between the two of you, and it doesn't even end, because at the end of the day, even if you're doing a referral, you'll have to do a follow-up. So respect has to be key in that relationship that you are there, and this respect is what will enable you as the counselor to build a boundary between you and your client. So there is something called dual relationship. So dual relationship is in the case of, let's say for me, I'm a therapist. I'm not supposed to have therapy with my friend, my parents, or anyone whom I have another type of a relationship with. So the other thing that you can look out for in terms of the ethics that govern the counseling relationship is the aspect of confidentiality. Confidentiality is very key. Remember, this person is coming to you, is trusting you with their whole life. There are things people have said in therapy that they have never told anyone. So if you as a counselor, you breach that confidentiality, it's something that can even take you to court. Because before you begin that therapy, I think we forgot to mention this. The first step is that your client needs to sign a consent form. So consent is just to say that you have allowed me to have a session with you. And consent is what usually protects the counselor. So if a client decides to take you to court and your counseling relationship was not consented, it's something that will bring you trouble out there. So that's the first thing that you do in a therapy session, signing of the consent and getting to set goals like Beula said. So in confidentiality, this is where you encourage and tell your clients that all the information that you're going to share here, it's very confidential. It's between the two of us. But there are those cases or situations in which you have to mention to your client that if a client states something like if they say they are killing themselves, or they will kill themselves, or they want to kill somebody, or they want to do something bad to another person, this is something that you speak outrightly in your session, and you tell them, if in case you say this and this, I will have to report this. You can report to the authority or to the people, the relevant authorities that are concerned. It could be the teachers, it could be their parents or their caregivers, or even their friends. So the other thing that a client will say, and you as a therapist will be able to shout, if a client says, nimekuambia this, then I want you to tell, maybe I want you to tell my parent, or to tell my teacher, or to tell my friend. So kuna confidentiality is what guides the counseling, and if this confidentiality is not adhered to, it can be really bad for the counselor. Yeah.
So we've seen that there's an open space and there's boundaries, like things that you need to follow, or things that the counselors and also the clients need to follow, so that they can ensure that therapy is a safe space for you. It's also a place where you can speak out. As we encourage you guys to continue doing this, we are also informing you on this matter, so that you may get to know before you come for therapy, what are the things that I should know before also coming to interact with the psychologist. What do I need to know that this I'll come and do? So combat day 1, this is what I'll do. Day 2, at least now we'll start speaking. And that is why we are here, to just give you the information. So let's talk about the how therapy has evolved. How was therapy in the past, and how is therapy now?
I think we can speak maybe of the context that we know, which is our country, Kenya.
Yeah.
For the longest time, therapy has not been something that's embraced. Nia zile cases hopeless kabisa. Ule msia kwa drugs tumpeleke kwa counselor. You know, the extreme of cases, and it's not something that, you know, regular everyday person feels like they need. So we have seen the change in that now it's actually been embraced a bit more. There's men showing up for therapy, there's women showing up for therapy without it having to be a product of extreme cases. So that's been growth in that side. We have as well, there's been, over the years, there's been, you know, all those, the types of therapy that Valentine was talking about. So every therapist that associates with a certain type used to form their own two associations. So we end up with having very many associations of therapists, so that you don't even know where to go. But now we have the counselors and psychologists board that is been set to now regulate the practices of everyone, regardless of whether you're married or you're CBT, or regardless of, you know, however you go about your therapy, which is also, you know, a part of us evolving. It means that it's gotten to a level where it can be like the government has recognized this as a profession that is serving the people, and so then hence the need to regulate it the same way we have a doctor's board or a lawyer's board. Yeah, so it just shows that there's that recognition happening. Then of course we had that time with COVID when we couldn't have, you know, such sit downs like this, where I bet even for you guys interviews might have been on Zoom or you know. So with that came the whole wind of virtual therapy, whereby if someone is in Turkana and the therapist they found is in Nairobi, they can still access the same quality care and services without necessarily having to be in the room. And I've noticed that has also freed up a lot of people who felt like they couldn't come, or who felt, like that stigma of unaendaje therapy. So you can just be in your place and people think you're in a meeting and you have your session and you're done and you're good, as you know. Yeah, so that has really helped. And I think even as we're going on, there's just the fact that it's been embraced a lot more. So organizations have been able to offer that to their staff. Some insurances are also already partnering with certain psychologists so that their clients who are under certain insurance umbrellas can access therapy as one of the, the way there's just the inpatient, outpatient, dentist. So now there's therapy in some of them. So it means that we are warming up to the idea that this is actually a very important part of, whole living. Yeah.
Which is quite a good thing. As we conclude this discussion, please give a word of advice to somebody who is really hesitant of coming to therapy. What can you tell them?
Okay, I would encourage that person who wasn't very much sure of whether they wanted to go for therapy or not, or rather they are afraid, and much of it is because of misinformation. Ni zile vitu zenye unapatanga umesikia huku nje, like sitaki kwenda niulizwe maswali mingi, or I don't want to go and sit with someone who is reading my mind. Tumefanya hii show because of you, and I believe by now kuna zile concepts zenye umepata kujua. So therapy, if you are afraid of going for a therapy, it's okay. Fear is something that is inevitable as human beings, but I would like to just tell you to start that process. I know starting is what most of us are usually afraid of doing, but if you just begin with that first session, you'll find that this is something that you'll find it to be very enjoyable. So at this point, I will just encourage you to look for someone, and then now from there you'll be able to go through that therapeutic process. Don't be afraid.
So take the leap of faith.
Yes.
What would you advise them?
I'd tell them the same thing, that the fear is normal and it's valid, because there's the thought of, how am I going to start talking to a stranger and telling them very deep things? And so it's normal to feel afraid. It's normal to want to protect yourself. But as Valentine has said, our hope is that at the end of this conversation, you've been able to see at least one or two benefits of actually going for therapy. And I'd encourage you with even my own story. I think the first time I went to therapy, the truth is, the first time I went to therapy, it was because it's part of qualifications of the course. When you study in psychology, you have to meet certain hours of therapy. So when I went, I told the therapist, I'm here because the university has said I have to come for therapy. And she was like, fine. And we started with that. But the more she asked questions, the more you realize this is actually for me. This is not for requirements. It's not for whoever has told you. So the encouragement here is to come, even with that fear. Come, we'll talk about the fear. We'll talk about what is scary. We'll talk about, other things. And then we'll get to the root of what's really happening. So just come and try, as we have really insisted on. What you're looking for in a therapist is someone where you feel someplace where, you're looking for a therapist that creates a space where you feel safe. So just come and try. The first conversation, as you've said, is more about just getting that informed consent, setting the goals, building a rapport. So it might actually feel like a normal conversation with someone, and then just stick to that journey. Just commit to that journey, reminding yourself that it's for you. It's not for anyone else. It's for you, and it's for your good. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I hope that has changed your mind, or rather has helped you now think of now taking the leap of faith. Because it's important, as we've had in this conversation, that therapy is a good thing. You don't have to be ailing mental health issues so that you can go for therapy. So it's important for you to just take that leap of faith, that step of faith, to just go and have therapy. Hata kama ni kuwa curious, go ensure that your curiosity say meisha by just trying therapy. Remember, we offer this free counseling or free psychology here at Younib organization with the help of Miss Ashen. to ensure that you guys can get help. So remember, if you have any issues or if you want to seek therapy, you can always call the number 0700 352 250 and you will get help. So thank you so much to everyone who has made this show a success. To our camera person, also director Elias Muchina, thank you for ensuring that this show is given to our viewers the way it is. To our timekeeper Daniel, thank you so much for ensuring that we are on time. And to everyone who has been watching this show, thank you for always sharing to your friends, and ensure to continue sharing it so that it can be able to help many people. So until next time, do have a beautiful day ahead. Goodbye.
Bye.